a note here a prompt here for myself to ask you, and for like a month I've forgotten to ask you.
Okay.
Have you noticed? Does your son show any like specific promise or interest athletically yet? Like, does he gravitate towards any particular sport for leisure?
Not particularly. His biggest leisure activities are, although I don't know, he likes the water a lot. So swimming, I think that would be the biggest thing for him would be swimming. So he does love that, and since he was tiny, has loved that. So that might be the one. But he does love, I mean, like mostly like typical boy stuff, like things with wheels and dirt and stuff. But I think the thing I see in him most is not athleticism, but it's creativity. Mm-hmm. So he's always been drawn more to like chalk and paint and drawing. And so I think that's kind of been what I've noticed most. But yeah, swimming seems to be maybe the most athletic thing that he's into. Although, I mean, he plays with, he's got baseballs and bats and basketballs and all that stuff too. Yeah. But nothing that he seems to gravitate toward more than any other.
Yeah, I was just curious because like my younger son's like my 4-year-old is a pretty good arm. Like he actually has a really good throwing arm. Mm-hmm. His aim is not half bad. Mm-hmm. So that's something.
That is.
My 2-year-old is pretty decent with kicking.
Oh, okay.
So I was curious. I was like, that's weird. I just don't know.
Yeah.
It's not like I have a history of having good aim or a good arm at all. So like, I don't know where this is coming from.
I will say his hand-eye coordination is killer. Like he has like these squirt guns, and dude's like a marksman, like chaw, like right on the money. And then he just seems to be incredibly coordinated that way.
All of my boys are very well balanced and have they get up high, and I'm always like, oh, you're going to fall. And they just like seem to have this perfect timing. And it's almost like they are even good enough to anticipate which way they'll bounce when they flop down on the couch. And so it's like, oh, Jesus, like each time. Yeah. And then you just go, oh, you knew that. Like you knew that would happen. And like, a toddler amount of spatial unawareness. Like, oh, I fell backwards because I was tackled. I didn't know my head would hit the armrest. But like, as far as intentional jumps, like Riley knows that when he jumps off an armrest, that he'll bounce on the middle cushion and land short of the far armrest.
Yeah.
And so he can go like completely limp. It's just weird. It's just the stuff you just figure out when all you do is flop your body around.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Dash does that too, but he does also like, Sarah's always joked about like, well, not joked. She's kind of said she may pursue this, like gymnastics for him, because he has loved like flipping and that kind of stuff. And so like, it's still like every night before bed, I'll just find him and he's just like flipping. He's just like putting his head down and just somersaulting over and over and over and over and over.
Yep.
And so I don't know, that maybe, tumbling and gymnastic-y type stuff might be in his future. Who knows? But
absolutely.
He definitely loves that. But that may just be also just a toddler thing in general. But
yeah, but it gets them, it gets their wiggles out because they spend that whole session like being allowed and being able to crash into mats and explore. And it's actually really good for all that home stuff because then like they kind of develop a bodily awareness, and so they don't like fuck up at home and like get hurt or knock over a lamp. Yeah, they just it kind of accelerates the wildness, but it adds in all of these like safeguards from them being actually good at it. Like we had our older son do gymnastics once, and like the only reason my boys aren't in it now is I just can't afford to pay for gymnastics.
Right.
But I wanted to, like, if I suddenly came into a bunch of extra money and it was time for extracurriculars, I would put all 3 of them in gymnastics and gladly sit and allow that to happen because that was good for them. That was good for my older kids when they were in it. No, totally. Especially for boys as well.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
Too. I knew there was a guy I went to high school with, his name was Aaron, and Aaron was in gymnastics, and we ran cross country and track, but like he was always doing gymnastics, like I think since he was like a small child, and so he'd been doing it for like over 10 years.
Yeah.
If you're a parent and you're like, oh, I want my boy to be gymnastics, it's a very male sport. First of all, it's a fucking Olympic sport. Second of all, your son will be ripped always for as long as he does gymnastics. And it's just really, really good overall. It's a good sport overall to train the whole body. Like if you think like it's much better for you than like longevity wise than like football or contact sports. And for God's sake, like just being full body in shape like that. And especially for a growing kid, like that's where it's at, man.
As a kid, I was not nearly coordinated enough for that. But like if you have that coordination and you work out, you know, those specific muscle groups that you need, which is most of them. Yeah. I have huge respect for those people.
Oh yeah.
Cause like, I don't understand how you realize like, you know what I'm really good at is flipping around. A pommel horse. Yeah. A pommel horse. Like I'm really good at supporting my body weight while I flop around with just my wrists. Or you know what I'm really good at? I'm really good at spinning around a bar vertically a lot and then eventually letting go, flipping in the air and landing on my feet. Yeah. Like a cat. Like I would be like, I don't understand and I don't know when to let go of the bar.
Oh yeah.
And my brain can't process which part of the world I'm in at this moment.
Yeah. I can't tell if
I've never tried, but knowing me, I would let go when I'm at the worst part and I would just crash down onto the ground immediately.
There was a time where I finally learned how to do a backflip into a pool. And that was, I look back and I'm like, I don't even know how I did that. Like that's pretty incredible for me. Yeah. But even toward the end of me doing that, I would backflip, but it was no longer like a perfect, like, form. It was like a diagonal backflip. Like my feet would go to like 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you know, because you get those twisties or whatever. And if you're not an actual gymnast, it'll happen to you like immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if I had done that as a kid, I would have, of course I would have eaten a lot more Pop-Tarts.
Yep.
If of course I ate my fair share of those Pop-Tarts, when I was in high school running and beyond.
Did you eat them with the frosting or did you eat them unfrosted?
I did not eat them unfrosted. I think unfrosted Pop-Tarts are fucking gross and not worth my time.
Virtual high five. Yes.
Always with frosting.
Always with frosting.
An unfrosted Pop-Tart, just shoot me in the face instead. Yeah. Don't want
Do you want this buttery cardboard? No, put some sugar on it and then we'll talk.
Especially like the off-brand. Like here's an off-brand unfrosted Plop-Plart.
Yes.
And you're like, this doesn't even have the same. This is barely any filling. This is some bullshit.
This is nothing.
This is below par.
Exactly.
Unacceptable.
Yep.
Which sounds like that's what the Unfrosted the movie is.
I believe we have split the atom of breakfast. In the early 1960s, the American morning was defined by milk and cereal. And the two undisputed giants of the cereal world were Kellogg's and Post.
Major news from the breakfast world. The Post Cereal Company has reportedly invented a shelf-stable fruit pastry breakfast product.
No.
Yeah.
Boy.
It's Post. They did it.
I'm about to finally crush that big red K that never stops glaring at me. How do you think Post did it?
There's always a surprise inside the box.
I wonder if they use xanthan gum.
Xanthan.
Kellogg's is entering the race to reinvent breakfast with the help of Steve Schwinn, Chef Boyardee, and Jack LaLanne.
They're stacking the deck with ringers.
You know Isaiah Lamb from Quaker?
You Kellogg's people.
We're about to have some very powerful people very upset.
You have to win. Are you making any progress?
It's not to scale, but
What are you guys, 5 years old? Little John draws better than that, and I think there's something wrong with him.
nobody said this was gonna be easy.
We're talking about happy childhoods for millions of American kids. The important thing is the name.
Fruit Magoos. What?
No.
Heat 'em up and eat 'em ups.
No sale.
Oblong nibblers.
Is this a joke?
Whoever gets to the shelves first is gonna win this thing.
Give up the tarts, old man!
How did it get this far?
It's breakfast. Things happen.
Isn't this a cereal company? Why did my husband explode?
Do you think this would have been better if it was called Frosted? If it was
Yeah, for sure.
or even better than that if it was toasted and frosted,
Toasted and frosted.
gooey inside.
That there you go. Now we got a breakfast going.
I wasn't talking about bread.
So Unfrosted is the newest film written and directed by Jerry Seinfeld. This is his directorial debut. It's also co-written by Spike Feresten and Andy Robin. And yeah, it's a movie. This was recently released on Netflix. It stars Jerry Seinfeld, Jim Gaffigan, Hugh Grant. It stars what's her face? Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
Amy Schumer and the other lady, Melissa
I knew
McCarthy.
which actress you were talking about when you said what's her face.
Yes,
So he's probably
what's her
talking
face?
about Amy Schumer.
Christian Slater is in this.
There's a
Mikey Day,
lot of
Kyle
people in
Mooney,
here.
Patrick Warburton. Everybody that he knows is in this film, except for Seinfeld people who he keeps at an arm's.
Except, so these writers like Spike Feresten, Andy Robin are both Seinfeld writers, and then Barry Marder co-wrote B Movie, which is underrated. B Movie's a pretty good film, actually.
So I've never seen B Movie, but like, so this film, I gave it 1 star. Here's why. It's not that the film made me angry. It's that I repeatedly had to force myself to watch it. Anybody who is a parent of a toddler knows you watch movies in pieces and you watch them, on your lunch break at work or whatever, in pieces and parts. And I had to continually remind myself, look, sunk cost, you've already spent an hour on this thing. Keep going. And then you spend another 20 minutes and you're like, all right, you've already spent an hour 20 and the movie's only an hour and a half. So you're like, I'm almost there. Like, okay. It is only an hour and a half. It took me like 3 days to watch it. It felt like I watched it for 17 hours straight. All right. So the premise of this is, of course, about the Pop-Tart. It is in the 1960s, Kellogg's and Post are competing to get a breakfast pastry out on the market. The comedic premise of this is it is a parody of like the space race, Right Stuff type films. It's a comedic parody of that, taken to an extreme, similar to, it reminded me of like Weird, the Al Yankovic film.
Oh, okay.
Where this didn't actually happen this way. None of this is real. It's all made up. There may be some hints of the truth, but for the most part, this is just nonsense. And it kind of, I don't know, man. It just is. It's a frustrating movie, and I'll tell you why. The film itself doesn't take itself seriously enough for me to ever take it seriously. And I know what you're thinking. It's comedy. Why are you taking it seriously? Okay, well, maybe this is my own theory. I believe you have to take comedy seriously enough for it to be funny. If you don't take comedy seriously at all, it is not funny. If it like part of the reason that your favorite stand-up comic, whoever it might be, is your favorite stand-up comic is because they put a lot of thought and serious effort into their routine.
Yeah.
And this includes Jerry.
I was going to say, including Jerry Seinfeld.
Exactly. But you know, if you want to talk about like your Dave Chappelle's or your Bill Burr's or whatever it is, you know, your Nate Bargatze's, whatever, whoever your favorite is, like they put a lot of time and effort into their craft and they are serious about it so that they can be funny. And when you go, you're serious about it because you have either searched it on YouTube or you've gone to the show or whatever the case may be, but you are taking it seriously enough to seek it out or to click on it or to continue watching it in some way. And I feel like this film never takes itself seriously enough for me to find it funny. And absurdity is funny, but only when absurdity is grounded next to something that is not absurd. Again, this is my theory on comedy. Take it or leave it. Absurd for absurd's sake is not funny in the way that a punchline is not funny without the setup. So to me, the film was missing any kind of gravity that it needed dramatically, or at least some grounding where the world makes sense. In other words, there was not a straight man. Everybody was the comic relief character, and that gets old. Jerry, like in the Seinfeld sitcom, Jerry was the straight man. He was funny in his own right, but he was the straight man to everyone else's absurdity. Although later seasons, he started to become more absurd as well, or more, flanderized, for lack of a better term. But you have to have your straight man. You have to have your Abbott and your Costello. You have to have your Moe and your Curly. Like you have to have your straight man and your buffoon. Like that's the way that it works. And so when there's no straight man, the buffoonery just gets tiresome. And so that's what this film felt like to me. It was just too much, absurdity, is too outlandish, and it never reminded me of reality. And for a guy whose whole set is what's the deal with insert relatable thing here, none of this was relatable enough for me to find it funny. I think there are solid jokes in this film, just needs more grounding. And so there's a moment where I did get a laugh. There's a moment where a character dies, and it's played for laughs. And that moment is funny. And the moment after, where his widow, the character who dies, his widow is now at the funeral and asks Jerry, "You work in cereal. Why is my husband dead?" And Jerry just shrugs.
Right. Yeah.
That's funny. Like it's a funny joke that like, I don't know, whatever. Like, but because everything is absurd, that absurd moment doesn't play the same. And so I found it tedious and a little tiresome. The characters are just joke delivery machines, and there's no actual character to any of them. So Melissa McCarthy, I have such a love-hate with Melissa McCarthy, because if you watch like any of her appearances on Saturday Night Live, or you see the short form comedy that she does, it's always funny, and she's got great characters. But you put her in a feature, and I suddenly, I can't get into it. And I know everyone loves Bridesmaids. I have not seen Bridesmaids. But like talking about Ghostbusters and this, it's like, it just doesn't work the same way. So for me, her part fell flat. You have the Jim Gaffigan and Amy Schumer kind of pairing in this that never really worked. Partially because I don't think Amy Schumer is funny in this at all. I have not seen her in anything else, but like in this, there's a few moments that I think are supposed to be funny. They're not. And Jim Gaffigan, I guess, is the closest thing to a straight man, but not because he's a straight man, but because his character is just, I guess, more conservative. Like he's the foil to another character, but not in a straight man way, but just like in a I'm different kind of way. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but like he's not funny enough. None of this is funny enough. Jack McBrayer's in it. Bobby Moynihan, like these actors who should be knocking it out of the park, and it just never quite hits. And the last thing I'll say in terms of the cast is Hugh Grant seems to be going through a little bit of a renaissance right now for whatever reason. Between this and Wonka, I have no affection for Hugh Grant. I don't understand it. He plays Thurl Ravenscroft in this. The voice of Tony the Tiger. It's weird. What I'm about to say is going to make no sense, and it doesn't in the film either, but like taking it out of context like this certainly won't. He eventually like his whole role in this is he is not in the Pop-Tart making race at all, but instead he is the mascot for Frosted Flakes. And he begins to be like coerced. Like he begins to think that Kellogg's would be nothing without the mascot. And so he gets all the other mascots to attack the Kellogg's building. And it literally becomes a parody of January 6th. Down to him wearing the horns and everything. And so, but again, this is set in the 60s. And so I'm like, this is it's so absurd.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a decent idea, but it has to be done right. And I don't think Hugh Grant was the right person for that. If you're trying to make a January 6th statement, I don't know that I'd go there. I don't know.
Do it in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like,
yeah, right.
Have those characters do a similar thing, you know?
Right. Yes, exactly. But, and then there's a couple this is a little bit of a spoiler, but I feel like I have to tell you this.
Okay.
There's a crossover in this film. Have you heard about this?
I was peeking at the cast here with an AMC show.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, with the implied presence of these two characters.
They never say them by name.
Right. They can't.
But they are playing those characters.
Yeah.
This is absurd. Like, it's both absurd and unfunny, but it's also, I kind of respect that Jerry was just like, I'm just going to invite my friends over and we're going to do fun stuff and I'm going to write stuff and it doesn't make sense and I don't care.
Yeah.
Pay me the money. I don't care. I don't even would need the money. I don't care about the money. I'm just going to do this and see who sees it. I don't care. And like, I don't know. I've always wanted to be in Mad Men. I guess I'll just do that now.
Right.
You kind of have to respect it. But at the same time, I'm like, I just wish the movie itself was funnier. And I think it totally could have been. But Jerry's character is the grounding force.
Mm-hmm.
And so either it means Jerry has to play the straight man again, or somebody else should have played that role and Jerry should have played a different role if he wanted to play it absurd, because there had to be somebody to ground the film in reality so that the crazy stuff seemed crazy. It's a little bit like, to compare it to Weird, which, I think we both were, mostly favorable on Weird.
Yeah.
It was, if not lukewarm, but like whatever, but like, there were moments where it felt fairly genuine and fairly real. And then there were moments where he's fighting people in a diner, John Wick style. And without both of those things, neither one would work.
Mm-hmm.
And so this film was nothing but the absurdity. So that's why for me it didn't quite work. It doesn't make me mad. I just felt like I was bored by it, and I can't recommend it because it's not funny enough, and I also can't recommend it because it's not like meaningful enough.
Interesting enough, really.
It's not interesting enough. Like the premise of like we're going to parody the space race, but it's Pop-Tarts. It's a fine premise. Like that's a fine comedic premise. But I don't know. There's also something dated about the parody. And maybe it's because of all of those like scary movie, date movie, epic movie shenanigans that happened in our lifetime.
Yeah.
That I think I've soured on the parody as a genre.
25 years of those movies.
Yeah. It's just like, eesh, I'm done with that. But, that's an apt example actually for what this film is. It just doesn't have like random left field Spider-Man parodies built in. Like, I don't know. My brain is always like conflating those movies with whatever movie that was out at the time, whether it's like Spider-Man 3 or 300 or whatever. This doesn't do that, but it kind of does because Mad Men's in it. So it's weird. Like it's such a strange thing, but yeah, the film's not interesting enough, and it's not funny enough, and it's not meaningful enough, and it's not truth. It's not true enough. Like you're not learning about the Pop-Tart. So
right. It doesn't even beg the curiosity of, oh, now I want to read about like how it was actually created, because it's just boring businessy stuff.
Right.
Making food is boring.
Yes.
And like, it seems like the movie had an like it's like, who's it for? Because like it takes place in the 60s, and you've got like Jack LaLanne in here and Chef Boyardee, and it's like, okay, so the average 25-year-old doesn't know who those people are.
Right.
Shit, we're 35, and like, I have you heard of Jack LaLanne? I have, but like,
I've heard of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but that's you and me. Like,
I know he was parodied to great extent on Arrested Development by Martin Short, but like,
okay. Like, I know who Jack LaLanne is because I happened to see some special that involved him once. And it just for some reason, I never forgot it. I can't explain why.
Okay.
So I know who Jack LaLanne is, but like most people our age probably don't.
Right.
And so they're just like, oh, it's a fitness guy, and that's Cyclops playing him.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Bobby Moynihan. He's Chef Boyardee.
Yep.
That's a brand.
Yep.
And a person, I guess. Is it a real person? I don't know. I should Google it. And I'm now looking away from the screen.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you're going to seed historical, now we got JFK in here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's weird because there are a lot of references that I feel like I only vaguely understand, just like you're talking about. It's like, I know what you're talking about, but I don't know it enough for it to be funny. So yeah, like, is this for our parents' generation or the one before theirs? I don't know. Cause it's, I tell you, it's not for an 18-year-old.
Right. And I feel like I just remembered something. I was pulling the trailer and I was reading the YouTube comments. I just remembered a very consistent reaction to this. as I was describing a second ago, I was like, it's almost like it should have just been an SNL skit. And that's literally what a lot of people said was, this is a 3-minute skit that Jerry Seinfeld made into a feature-length film.
Yeah.
But like you can still pack in all of these cameos and these weird appearances and just make them fly by the seat of your pants. You can have Bill Burr's JFK. You can have all these things, but it doesn't have to be a 90-minute film.
Yeah.
You know, where you're paying a crew and shooting it and you're hiring Bill Pope to be your cinematographer. Right. Like why is he here?
Yeah.
And you know,
and it's so strange too, because like in terms of how it's shot like a 90s kids movie, and like everything's colorful and bubblegum and you know, it's so strange because there were moments where I'm like, is this for kids? But I'm like, but kids, because it's fairly clean, but I'm like, but kids won't understand any of this.
No.
Not a single bit of it. And like, you know, there's a moment where like Tony Hale plays this I'm getting off track, but like everyone's in this movie and it's all just like coming back to me like this weird fever dream of like, oh, Tony Hale was there and Fred Armisen was there. But like, but that's kind of what it is. But there's like this moment at the end where they're talking about, you know, at the end of a biopic, you always say like, and then this character went on to this and that. And so there's that kind of thing. And it's like, oh, the leader of Post went on and Amy Schumer plays her and she went on and she created Mar-a-Lago. That's true story. And I'm like, but a kid won't understand what that is.
Yeah. God willing, they don't know what Mar-a-Lago is.
Right. But I'm like, but nobody, but like who is it for? What's the demographic? Because here's the other thing. It gets so absurd that sometimes it feels like childish absurd. Like there's a moment like this again. Yeah. Saturday Night Live sketch, because there's a moment where Chef Boyardee and the other guy, he's a German guy. I can't remember who plays him.
Are you talking about Thomas Lennon?
Thomas Lennon. That's his name.
Yeah.
So Thomas Lennon and Bobby Moynihan, who plays Chef Boyardee, they try to create, like, Thomas Lennon plays a character who created sea monkeys. And so it's like this thing at the time, you know, obviously, like, we all know what sea monkeys are. I don't know that a 8-year-old knows what sea monkeys are, but
right.
But we do. And like, and you know, so he uses those to try to create the Pop-Tart, and he works with Chef Boyardee, and they combine their forces and essentially create a sentient ravioli monster, which walks around and like hides, and it's almost played like Alien, like his face hugger, and like hiding behind things. And I'm like, this is so weird and random. And like at the end, I don't know, whatever, spoilers, who cares? At the end, Bobby Moynihan and Thomas Lennon like decide to raise the little ravioli guy by them, like, you know, as a family. And so it like cuts to like years later, and the ravioli's a teenager, and he's like, get out of my room. And Bobby Moynihan is like, oh, that's your son. And he's like, no, it's your son. And like, I'm like, who is this for? I don't understand who this is for. And like, when you say it out loud like that, I could totally see Jerry and these other writers laughing in the room and saying, this is really funny.
Yeah.
Okay, but it doesn't belong. Like,
we're going to shoot this, right? Oh, no. Absolutely not. We're just fucking around.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. It's just, it's so strange. It's, man, I don't know. It's just a strange movie. I find it hard to recommend it to anybody.
Yeah.
If you're a diehard Seinfeld fan, I don't think you'll get much out of it.
I feel like you would hate this. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's, there are shades. So later in Seinfeld's run, after Larry David left and Jerry took creative control, things got a little more absurd. So I think Jerry's, just sort of Jerry's base tendencies might be to venture into the absurd. but he was bound by those characters and NBC and investors and advertisers and all the other things that like he couldn't go too far.
Is this like his George Lucas like prequel trilogy? Is this what this is?
Yeah, but this is him going full ham on every idea he's ever had. Time to
show the world the real Jerry.
Yeah, right. But it's not the real Jerry because the stand-up is the real Jerry, and this doesn't even resemble the stand-up. Like, again, his stand-up is very relatable.
Yeah.
Like, for a man who's a billionaire and still goes out and talks about going to the supermarket, that shouldn't be relatable to me at all because you're a billionaire in a supermarket.
Yeah.
But that's way more relatable than anything here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like if you went to Jerry right now and he was like, I just came back from the supermarket. You'd be like, how much did you pay for that watermelon? He'd be like, I don't know, $400. I don't know. And you're like, Jerry, that was $3.75.
Jerry, I think you overpaid.
Yeah. I don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah. It's like money means nothing to him anymore.
I just threw my car keys. I don't care.
I gave him a Porsche and they gave me the store. Like, I own
it now. It's such a pain. Why do I make these bad trades that require so much of my time and attention? What sickness do I have that I must take on all these tasks? These new challenges in life.
Why do they call it a supermarket? There's nothing super about it. Yeah.
I renamed it Jerry's Average Market.
Supermodel, Superman, supermarket. Like that's the cadence of a Seinfeld joke, but I don't understand. Like nothing in this is that. So I don't know where this came from.
Yeah. Yeah. It just sounds like kind of like just a pastiche of ideas and the right media climate for a streamer to decide like, hey, it's a good time to make a brand story. And that's just, I'm sick of those.
Sure.
As a concept. Like I love Barbie. That came out a year ago. And already it's like there's a fucking Beanie Baby movie and there's Unfrosted and there's Air, which I heard is good, but I'm just like,
it's fine.
Okay. Like, I almost don't care. It's like, I don't know if I want to watch a narrative film about how a branded product was made. It's almost gross. Like
the thing about Air, and I'm not going to turn this into a review about Air, but
okay.
But the thing about Air, Viola Davis plays Michael's mother.
Right.
Fantastic in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of the movie is spent with like Jason Bateman going up to Ben Affleck and going, we have a shoe. And Ben Affleck's like, I want another shoe. And okay. And how are we going to do it? And I'm like, this is stupid. Just show me Michael Jordan again.
I know. It's like, this is what documentaries are for. If you want to know how the Pop-Tart was invented, go find the most recent boring fucking movie that was made about it by some asshole who did some research in like the 90s when that product actually turned 30 and it was done for like CBS or some shit. Like this is what 60 Minutes is for.
Right.
This isn't what Netflix should be spending time on unless it's one episode of How I Made This or whatever fucking series there is now. The world is so confusing and I hate it.
But like the other thing is like there's this rattling in the back of my brain that like Jerry signed a multi-picture deal with Netflix.
Oh,
like,
dear.
I'll do a couple of stand-ups and then I'll do a movie.
A narrative.
And this was just him like checking a box and going, I did the movie.
Whatever.
I don't care. Like,
look at all these famous people
I had fun because I got to work with my friends and I got to do stupid stuff. And I just tried to see, like, I could almost see sitting with Jerry and saying, so tell me about Unfrosted. Like, now that we're past it, what do you really think? And him just being like, I was just trying to see how off-putting I could be.
His answer is, about what? Who?
The film you directed. Oh, the film they said I directed?
Oh, yeah. You mean my tax write-off.
Right. I don't know. I almost just want to believe it's a lark and it's just him just saying, I don't know, whatever. Netflix wanted a movie. I gave them a movie.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing I could possibly make. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's it. I think this is just a little bit of a misfire. And I think like you've got these guys sitting in a room making each other laugh. And I think they thought they had something really, really funny. Mm-hmm. And maybe they did, but it was ruined, I think, not by the direction. The direction's actually fine. I think it was ruined by a script that needed another pass, something to ground it, and forget the smorgasbord of cameos, because you don't need this many characters. You need to whittle it down and get a few key players, and they can be celebrities. That's fine, but be very purposeful with them. And I'm not saying he has to include Jason Alexander and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but that would be more fun than like James Marsden.
Yeah.
Who is fine, but like I get no thrill from seeing him with Jerry. I don't necessarily feel like there's a reason for that. Like, if you want to throw in Jim Gaffigan and Amy Schumer and all that, okay, at least they're stand-ups and they come from Jerry's world. But like,
right.
I don't understand this, or like the Saturday Night Live people, that's fine. But like, I don't understand people like that cameo. I don't know. It needed another pass, and it needed to whittle down its characters and use those celebrity moments a little more sparingly and with more purpose. Whatever. It needed to be Julia Louis-Dreyfus. It needed to be somebody like that can play absurd, but play well with Jerry. I don't think Melissa and Jerry I don't think they were on the same page about what kind of comedy they were making. And I don't think they have chemistry together the way that he did with Julia or whatever. And so there's my 2 cents.
I'm sad that I'll never know what Larry King thinks of this movie.
Yes.
Don't take it so bad. What is this? What movie is this?
Did you see that video I sent you of him interviewing Ben Schwartz?
Yeah.
And Ben Schwartz made him do a voice of Sonic the Hedgehog.
What would your Sonic be like, Larry? Hey, I'm Sonic. I'm the Hedgehog.
He goes, "Why does this always happen to me?" Or why does everyone forget me? I can't remember, something like that.
That's right.
I'm like, Larry, do you think that's Sonic's catchphrase?
Why am I not invited to things? Everyone assumes I'm coming to events, and I never get an official invite. Larry Sonic talks very slow for a speedster hedgehog.
Yeah.
Runs very fast. Yeah. Okay, I'll be there in a minute. Let me just lace up my shoes. Oh, I've got to urinate. Stand by. On the way.
I'm just imagining one of those like speedster sequences where everything's frozen and you just hear Larry King remarking on everything in the room.
like him running past you, there's a whoosh and you hear, "Up." Like, the fuck was that?
Did
you hear that? Oh.
Why is everything frozen?
This is going to take forever. I don't like this. Hurry up, everyone else.
I thought super speed was me moving fast, not everyone else moving slow.
This is unbearable.
This isn't a power, it's a curse.
Imagine Larry King living as long as he did, but experiencing time so much slower than the rest of us. No.
I think he actually did. I think that's why he talks that way.
That's why he was, that's his interpretation of Sonic. Like, you don't understand. Sonic would be incredibly welcoming of death. Because by the end of his life, Sonic prays for the sweet release of death's cold hand. He is excited by the prospect were he not so sad that it took this long.
Yes.
Are we going to talk about my film, Larry? Oh, hey, Jerry Seinfeld.
I forgot you were here.
I saw the film about the pastries. Not my cup of tea. The runtime was 16 days, the way I experienced time.
Explain what a Pop-Tart is to me, Jerry.
That's sugary snack, bread, some mush on the inside. I eat pudding.
Exclusively.
I'll take the mush on the inside. I don't want the...
Cut to Larry trying one. He's just chewing on the aluminum foil.
He just puts a straw.
Where's the fruit filling?
He pops it in half and just puts a straw in the filling and slurps it up.
Like a hummingbird. Getting the nectar of a flower.
Like a mosquito.
Why does every episode we do end with a 5-minute improv session complete with impressions of people that can't defend themselves?
We've alienated England, and then we've alienated Larry King's estate.
And bigots as well. Don't forget that.
Oh yeah, we've alienated the bigots.
That's no loss, but still, it's just worth noting.
I've got a sugar high from all this Pop-Tart filling. I'm so hopped up now. I'm ready to prank call some people. Whatever the kids do when they're hopped up on Pop-Tarts. Let me prank call Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Larry, he's been dead for years.
So have I. Fuck you.
I just moved so slow it hasn't caught up to me yet.
What is death but the redistribution of our atoms? I feel like I just sound like an old turtle now.
Larry saw the Grim Reaper a decade ago, and he was just moving so slow.
Larry's had his head half cut off by the Grim Reaper.
The last
6 years.
The last 3 years of his life.
Hurry up. Finish the job.
The scythe was in the neck.
This is torture for me.
I guess I'll keep working.
Guess I'll just keep earning money and interviewing
Pete Davidson.
Danny Pudi. Yeah. Pete Davidson. Well, everyone, once again, we've reached the end. This grave we've been digging is for you. And
we've been doing this show too long to end our episodes the way that we do.
This is unacceptable.
This is unacceptable. If there was a category at the potties or whatever the award ceremony is, potties, it would be like the most unprofessional endings ever goes to
worst outros.
I also imagine the statue for the potties is just a toilet.
Yeah, it's a microphone pooping in a toilet.
It's a microphone floating in the toilet water.
Be that as it may, as Larry King said to the Grim Reaper after a long struggle, goodbye.
Welcome to the Potty Awards.
What took you so long? All right, bye everybody.
Bye everybody.
I can't do that voice anymore. It hurts my cheek.
Yeah.
It hurts my cheek to pull it out like this, especially when I have my beard, like it's just slipping on my hairs.
Yep.
Help! It's painful.